My name is Aubrey, and I'm a sophomore at the University of KU, and I'm majoring in behavioral neuroscience, which sounds like really fancy, but it's like a subcategory of psychology focusing on the brain and how the behavior works within the different connections that happen within the brain. So I also live off campus right now, but last year I lived in the dorms, and that was really, really nice to always be near all the classes and all your professors all the time. But living off campus is also really nice, and I live with 3 other girls, and it's pretty fun. I love going to KU and doing everything there, so yeah.
Aubrey, could you tell us what you would say like a normal day looks like for you at KU? And then how has the coronavirus changed that for you?
Yeah, so a normal day for me kind of varies depending on what classes I might have. So I could go on Monday to a class at 10 a.m. and be in a lecture hall with 700 plus people. And then the next class that I have, I could go into a class that has like 15 people, and I'm sitting there and I have to participate in the discussion the whole time. And then I could be done by 1 o'clock that day. So it kind of varies. And then I could, I don't know, have like a lab class on one day and be in that class for 4 hours doing projects. And then after that, I would go home and maybe get something to eat and then go to work. So it's kind of like scattered every single day depending on what classes I might have. But the coronavirus has really affected me because everything's online now. And if you watch that video, you'll see just how beautiful and amazing KU campus is. And being away from that and not being able to interact with my classes as easily and get it straight from my professors nicely, it just really affects it. And I'm really excited to go back to classes next semester and actually be in person.
Mm-hmm. What was the transition like from high school to college? Like, did you go to a big high school, small high school, and how was it to adjust to your freshman year last year?
So I went to a high school that had 54 people in my graduating class.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty tiny. We were 3A, and I grew up there. So I knew everybody. Everybody knew me. It was a very close community, very nice community. I love it very much. But going to KU, and I have, like I said, over 700 people in some of my classes, it's a lot different. So what really struck me differently was my professors, they're not able to communicate with you as personal as my high school teachers could, because in high school, everybody knows everybody, you know, like your professors or your teachers are going to be on a first name basis with you. But in your college classes, not all professors are going to be able to know you. So they have different times where you could go and meet them for office hours or something, which I really recommend doing, because then they get to know you face to face and you can communicate with them better about what's going on within your education. And they also have these supplemental instruction lessons that are taught by students. And I always went to those because they're like a smaller classroom, but focused on the material from that class. And they're always optional. But it really helped me. When you have a class that big, it's hard to get all the information and have a good relationship with the people that are teaching it. So if you go to those smaller breakout classes, then the material sinks in so much faster. And that was probably the biggest challenge with transitioning. It was very different from a very small school to a big one.
Awesome. Well, and I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to invite our students to ask questions too, because I know some of them brought questions as well with them. So the one other question I wanted to ask you was, how did you pick KU, and do you feel like you made the right decision?
So I've always kind of wanted to go to KU. My family loves KU, but I felt that after my college visit going there and just seeing how beautiful the campus is, and I got to meet with some people and hear their experiences, and it's just, the community there is amazing, and everybody helps everybody. Everybody's so nice and welcoming, and I never felt like it wasn't a home for me, you know? Like, it always felt like the place that I wanted to be, the place I wanted to go. And then once I got there, it really sunk in that that is where I needed to be. And I love every single second of being at KU.
Awesome. Thank you. Kiamoni, I know you sent me some really good questions. Would you maybe want to start us off by asking one?
Sure. Okay. What are you studying to become? So I know that you said you're studying psychology. So is it to become like in a profession or a career?
So my goal is to get my degree in behavioral neuroscience, my bachelor's degree, and then I'll be applying to the doctorate program for clinical and counseling psychology. And I would like to do research on brain trauma based off of behavior. So that's kind of my goal, is to get my doctorate and then do research for brain trauma and behavioral effects within that.
How many years of school will you have to get your doctorate too?
So it's going to be a little bit. I'll have the 4 years to get my bachelor's. And then if I get into the doctorate program right away, it'll be an additional 5 years. So it'll be a little bit of time. And if I don't get into the program right away, then I'll go into my master's, which is 2 years. And then I'll reapply to the doctorate program, which is the other 5 years. So I could be in school for a very long time.
Aubrey, sorry, why psychology?
So I first started out as a human biology major, and I had to take a course that kind of focused more on behavior, and I like that a lot better than human biology itself. So I went ahead and went with the psychology that focuses on still a part of the human anatomy, the brain, because that still fascinates me completely. But I also I love psychology. Like, I watch documentaries all the time and I read case studies, and this was before I even got into the psychology program. So I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. But after taking the one class that I had to for my human biology course, it kind of was like, yeah, I think this is what I should do instead of human biology. And it's been really awesome so far.
Let's see, what kind of people would you recommend to go to college? Like, not specifically college, but KU.
Like, what kind of, like, who do you think would be a good fit at KU?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of student?
We really don't have like specific types of students. There's a little something for everybody at KU. And if you go onto the KU website, you can see all the different clubs and organizations that they offer. And it's so broad that anybody could fit in at KU. It is an amazing place, and everybody will be so welcoming when you get there. It's just pretty awesome. There's something for everybody at KU.
Aubrey, what advice do you have for middle and high schoolers who are trying to figure out, like, what do you think is the best recommendation you have for what they should do while they're in middle and high school to prepare for college?
So I know that when I was in middle school and in high school, I was freaking out about college. It was always, where am I going to go? Or it's going to be so hard when I get there, and I have to do so much right now to prepare. But I say keep your options open. Like, don't settle on one school. I went on other tours to different schools. I applied to all different schools just to keep my options open and know exactly what would fit right for me. And in middle school and high school, it feels like there's all this pressure to decide, and you have to do big things right now, but you'll be okay. Like, once you get there, it's a little rough jumping into everything, but it settles in, it settles down after a few weeks, and then it becomes habit, and it's just routine for you. So right now, really just be open to opportunities and different options for yourself, and always be looking for something that you can do. Like, I don't know, you could research different colleges if you want and see which ones would be best for you.
Okay. Great, thank you.
What is your best college experience so far?
My best experience would have to be, that's a very good question. I really liked my biology labs and going to those classes every day, because it's really hands-on. Really, my chemistry labs too. All of them are really hands-on, and you got to do so many cool things within them, and it kind of like dove you could dive into the material more, and it wasn't just textbook, and you could do things on your own, which was really cool. So that experience, being in labs all the time, was awesome. Also, just the life at KU, like getting to know different people from all over. Like, we have people from all different countries, and you can learn so much from all of them. So just being exposed to all of that diversity is really awesome. It's a great experience.
So thank you. Nick, it looks like you have a question. Can you try your microphone and see if it will work?
Wait, is it working?
Yes, it is. We can hear you.
Okay, why did you choose KU?
So KU was always the school that I wanted to go to. So ever since I was little, like, my family loves KU. So we went to the KU basketball games. If nobody has gone to one of those, you should definitely go. They're amazing. That was probably one of my best experiences too. I probably should have said that. But I just love KU, the way that it feels when you go on campus and everybody's so nice, and it's just a really great fit for me.
Great. All right, would anyone else like to just jump in verbally either? So if anyone else wants to share a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and talk.
Yeah, I was trying to use the chat thing, it wasn't working.
That's okay, so go for it then.
How many times do you think is like a norm, do you think, for people to switch majors? Because like I've heard people switching majors like 5 times within 1 year or something like that, but like.
So I switched my major twice because I came in undecided. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I decided on human biology. And then after that one semester, I decided I wanted to do behavioral neuroscience. So I think within your first 3 semesters, it's okay to jump around, because you're going to get into all different classes, and there's some like core classes that you have to take, and maybe that will expose you to something else that you didn't know. So I think like 2 or 3 times within those 3 semesters where you first get there is okay to jump around, because you don't really know exactly what you might want to do. If you jump into something super fast, you might, I don't know, regret doing it in the future, unless you really know that's what you want to do. But really, it's okay to jump around within your major, because you're always going to take different classes that might feel like they're better for you than what you're in right now. So,
have you met people where they're like last year of college, they decided to switch their major and just had to completely restart everything?
yes. So I am also a server at Texas Roadhouse in Lawrence. Pretty awesome. But I work with a girl who, it is her senior year, and she was in journalism. And she took one course that was just supposed to be like a requirement for graduation. She took that course and realized she wanted to be in psychology instead. So she now has to go back and take all of the other courses that she didn't to get that degree. So it's not uncommon, but I mean, people do it. Yeah.
Good question. All right, someone else go ahead and unmute yourself and jump in if you'd like.
Are people mostly friendly at college or reserved?
People are very, very friendly. So we have this, if you go onto that KU tour, you're probably going to see Wesco, and it has Wesco Beach, and that's like just this big patio where people set up, and you can do different booths there that kind of like show you different, I don't know, clubs and organizations you could join. And everybody sits on Wesco Beach, and if you sit next to somebody, they're going to talk to you, and you're going to make a friend, and then you could have lunch with them the next day. So everybody is so friendly, because everybody needs friends too. You know, you're not just the only one that's going to a college that has so many people in it that it feels so big and like you're just one person there, but so many other people are in the same boat, and everybody's looking to make a friend. So people will talk to you and be friendly. And there's also, at the beginning of the school year, like Hawk Fest and Union Fest, where you go to these big festivals that have just booths of different organizations and like intramural sports, club sports that you could try out. And I really do recommend doing one of those because it helps you make friends. Like if you don't decide to join a sorority or a frat, but you join a club or intramural sport, like I do club softball, and those are like my best friends on campus, and I always see them, I always talk to them. So it helps make campus feel a little smaller, you know, when it's so big.
You mentioned earlier that you have a class of like 700 people, I think you said. What do you even do in that class? Because I actually never had a class that big in college myself. So how do you handle that? And how do you like actually make sure you're learning the material?
So I've had a couple that are like 500 to 700 people, which is crazy. So you're in this big lecture hall that has just levels of different like seats that you could go into, like a big auditorium. And there's maybe one lecture, your professor, but there's several, like 15 TAs. So they're student assistants, and they've taken the courses. So they are able to like walk around in the crowd, and if you have a question, they can come to you. But then outside of the class, like you're basically just sitting there and listening to the lecture the whole time and taking notes. There's not really a participation grade for that. So outside of class, those TAs will have office hours, and if you have questions, you can come to them one-on-one, or the professor has office hours and you can do the same thing. And then I think I mentioned earlier that there's supplemental instruction sessions, and those are by students that have taken the course as well, but they have a job where they just hold these sessions and basically give you mini lectures of what you went through. So then you can, and they give you these worksheets and you can work on them one-on-one, and the worksheets are done by the professor. So all of the outside stuff is optional, but I do recommend if your college that you end up going to does have it, you should go to all of those especially.
Awesome. What do you think was the most difficult thing about adjusting to KU, or the most difficult thing about being when you first started out there?
So when I first came to KU, I knew about 5 people that were there from my old high school. So I already kind of had a few people that I could go to and hang out with, but I didn't join a sorority. I just didn't feel it was right for me. So I didn't have like a bunch of friends when I first got there. So like I said earlier, going to those club organizations that have like the booths and everything, and they hand out information, and I found the club softball, and I played softball all in high school, like all my life. So I decided to go ahead and go out for it. And once I got on the team and I was able to meet the teammates, then I made more friends that way. And then it just kind of kept growing. So the hardest thing for me was probably finding a group of friends that I could relate to and be around with all the time. So once I found club softball, that like helped so much. And then I felt more comfortable in my classes because then I had friends in classes, and it was just so nice to actually make friends from that, doing something I love too.
Awesome. And I think we have time for about 2 more questions. Is there anyone else who wants to jump in?
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Foster, and I am the English language arts teacher in college prep. And my question for you is, how are your grades calculated?
That's a very good question. So I still kind of struggle to calculate my own grade at times, because some professors will not put in grades until the very end of the semester. So you really don't know what your grade is the whole time. But I believe are on a weighted scale for most of our classes. So each assignment counts for something different. And at the end, it's kind of a weighted total of what it's going to be. And we do use plus and minuses. So if I had like an A in a class and then a B in another class, like they're weighted so much different. And then we don't get like a running total of what our GPA is after we take all of the courses. And we kind of have to calculate it ourselves based on what we got in each class and on every single assignment. So it's kind of hard to figure it out at times. You kind of have to handle it yourself, or if you really can't figure it out, you have to talk to your advisor. So it's not as straightforward as I would like it to be, but it's what I got.